Chuks Iloegbunam is the author of the book, Ironsi, Nigeria, the Army, Power, and Politics. Let's talk about your book.
Of course.
In the preface of the work, you quoted Major General M.C. Ali. Ali says the January 15th, 1966 coup was staged to preempt a Northern People's Congress-inspired coup. Why did you quote this section?
Yes, because in 1966, after the first coup took place, the organizers and perpetrators of the coup said it happened to preempt a northern coup that was coming. Nobody believed the story at that time. So when we have somebody like Major General M.C. Ali validating that story, and then we also have Mr. Trevor Clark, a colonial officer, British colonial officer, validating the story again, it makes it beyond, it puts it beyond question that it is the truth. That there was a coup planned by the NPC government called Operation No Mercy. It was to happen days before the January 15, 1966 coup. That's why I quoted the two gentlemen there. There isn't any doubt about the veracity of that story.
So what you call a northern planned coup can also be defined as the Hausa Fulani coup.
In the days when that event happened, you didn't really have that conjoined name of Hausa Fulani. They made mostly Hausa, but you can call it Fulani coup, not Hausa coup. Sarana Sokoto was Fulani. He was the person in charge of the government, not the prime minister, who was Hausa. Balewa was not in charge, it was Sadauna. So it was a Fulani thing. They were the people controlling the army.
So Iloegbunam is using his book to validate the notion that there was a planned coup to be carried out by Fulani officers before Nzogo and Co struck.
Yes.
Let's look at what Ali said. You quoted him, and it reads, the 15th January 1966 coup was staged to preempt a Northern People's Congress-inspired coup known as Operation No Mercy, designed to eliminate the critics of Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa. Earlier, the opposition leader, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, was in 1962 rusticated and incarcerated for masterminding a civilian coup for what has been claimed were trumped-up charges. In a bid to assert our authority and deal severely with miscreants, Colonel Zachary May Malari was to lead the northern group of officers to restore the dignity of the northern-led federal government. May Malari here, you remember in Congo, he did not take orders from Aguiyi-Ironis.
Yes, I remember that.
And here he is mentioned to be the one to lead the coup to restore the dignity of the North. How do you explain that?
I think it's just a connection between the reality as exposed to Nigerians and the mindset of the northern power brokers. They have a sense of entitlement. Everything must go the way they want, otherwise they will counter it or thwart it. If it wasn't for that reason, there was no way a major in the person of Memelari will disobey his superior officer, Lieutenant Colonel Ironsi, who at that time even had UN promotion rank of general. See what I mean? But he disobeyed because he had a sense of entitlement. And Ironsi ordered him back to Nigeria, and he left. If it were some other person, back in Nigeria, he would face further sanctions.
Why did Ironsi push for further sanctions?
There are two reasons for that. One is that Ironsi wasn't as foolish as most people thought. You took actions in terms of anticipated reactions. Ironsi would have asked himself what to gain if he came back home and continued to pursue that point. That's the main reason. What would he gain? And then there's a second answer to that. This guy is constituting an obstacle to me. I remove him, problem solved. And then he continued with what he was doing.
And this same guy was to lead a coup.
Yes, he was.
No, now we are looking at counterfactual. There was no northern coup. We are only making this argument on points of conjectures. There was no coup. But if there was a northern coup, do you think Mai Malari would have spared Ironsi?
Well, I do many things, but I never claimed to be a prophet. I never claimed to read the minds of people, what they would have done 4 decades or 5 decades ago. But given the sense of impunity that existed among certain sections of the society, and given what happened during the counter coup, I do not think that the man would have spared Ironsi for 1 millisecond.
Now, this question of a northern coup, let's probe it further. I remember Akintola visiting the Saudana
Yes.
a day before the January 15th coup. He was in the north. You find that argument in Femi Kende's book, Ladoke Akintola and the Eye of History. So by January 14th, Saudana and Co had the premonition that there would be a coup. So do you believe if they were planning a coup and they knew there was going to be a coup, they should have acted, but yet they refused to act?
At that point in time, what Akintola and Ahmadu Bello had couldn't be described as premonition. They knew that a military action was possible because they had been told. Even Ironsi himself traveled to Bauchi to go and see the prime minister who was on leave to say, look, this is what I'm hearing. It's in this book. These young officers are trying to move. He didn't believe the story, but many other sources mentioned to them that there was this likelihood of the young officer striking. So it wasn't a question of premonition.
So why did you think they did not act to prevent the coup?
Yes, there's an explanation. Ahmadu Bello was known to have said that if you pointed a gun at him and pressed the trigger, if Allah said he won't die, the bullet will not strike him. So there was that sense of submission to the ultimate will of God, that nothing happened unless the Almighty sanctioned it. I don't think he believed that it was possible for that action to take place.
And the action took place.
It did take place, yes.
It was a bloody action.
Yes, it was.
Very bloody.
Yes.
Should it have been that bloody?
Well, I can't place any premium on bloody comparisons because I'm not a man of violence, So you couldn't say, should it have been that bloody? What amount of blood is enough? That's one question you have to ask yourself. Secondly, what's the purpose of a revolution? What's the possibility of making an omelette without breaking an egg? You could ask yourself all those questions. But it did happen, and it was bloody.